What's going on? Welcome to the Face Behind the Brand.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I am your host, Monique Marie, and you are the dynamic producer, the
I am
videographer,
imperative.
the motion graphic designer, imperative.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So I appreciate you doing this while you're traveling. So we're going to be seeing a lot going on while you're heading to Quebec, right?
Yeah, driving from Niagara to Quebec, which is it's a 9-hour drive.
Yeah.
So I think we're like maybe close to half.
My
So
God, you guys
my
are driving.
brother's what's it's a long
I said
drive.
you're
My
driving.
brother's
He's
driving.
driving.
I'm in the back seat.
Okay. Well, thank your brother again so much for, sharing you with us tonight. I'm just, again, elated to have you. Shout out to Fly Family. Shout out to Akil Ali, of course,
Yeah.
because you have been, of course, supportive since, of course, he was on the show a couple of weeks ago. He had an incredible interview, and you have just been really supportive ever since. All of you have been so supportive. So I want to say shout out to Akil Ali and Stars and G4 Jag. I mean, all of your team are
Yeah.
some
Are
amazing
you gonna
people.
get G4 on at some point?
I would love to. Thank
Yeah.
you. Speak it up. Speak it
And
up.
exactly. Speak it into existence, right? Get the big
Thank
Lord.
you. Like literally incredible. Also been so supportive. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys are a part of an amazing collective. So I think it's a blessing to be a part of. So you're from Ontario, Canada. Talk to me about your youth and coming up.
About my youth. So yeah, born and raised in Ontario, but moved around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Skateboarding. Well, I played hockey like most Canadians do.
Mm-hmm.
Skateboarding and snowboarding were my first big passions, and probably my biggest introductions into music and graphic design and all that. So I do attribute pretty much where I am today, like to skateboarding and snowboarding. That was like, that's where you start in the music, in the snowboard videos and skateboard videos. You hear like the skaters would use dope music all the time, and then the skateboards always
Yeah.
had dope graphics. So that was really where all of that sort of creativity sort of came from.
Yeah. Well, I think it's
Um,
incredible. You have two brothers, right? You're with one of them. You have two brothers.
just the one brother.
Oh, you have one brother. Okay.
Yeah,
So he was the one that was attending the audio engineering school
yeah.
and
He
got
moved.
you into
He
it.
I moved out to Vancouver for snowboarding,
Mm-hmm.
and he ended up following me out there, or not following. He came out for his own reasons, and he started going to what's called PAVI in Vancouver, BC, which is an
Okay.
audio engineering school and program.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up having a snowboard accident. I collapsed my eye socket. I hit a big jump and landed with my knee in my face and shattered the whole bone.
Oh my goodness.
Um, and that was kind of my creative outlet, was snowboarding. Like, was we were taking photos, we were shooting videos and doing that. So when
Yeah.
I didn't have that, it took a while. I was like, well, what am I going to do now? My brother was getting into the hip hop production, recording people and making some beats. And I've just always like loved hip hop music. And I was like, okay. So I started doing some research, and then I ended up getting into it myself.
Yes. Well, an amazing start and influence your own bloodline, right? So I think that's
Exactly. And he's
incredible.
been
So
so
talk to.
supportive.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Say it again.
He's been so supportive. Like, some of the equipment I still have today is hand me down equipment from him.
Wow. Wow.
So
Amazing.
yeah,
Well, I mean, talked about that too, how important it is to have the support. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a huge blessing. What's going on, AB? Thank you so much for coming in. That's another main supporter who has been wonderful. Artist Management, Back in the Game Entertainment, supporting us
okay.
tonight. So all of you guys. If I don't see you pop in, because I'm noticing sometimes it pops in and I don't see people, so just know I appreciate all of you.
And I appreciate everyone that's here as well, supporting.
Thank you so much. Who is that? Norman Vora said, imperative is the future. I saw that.
That's the homie. He's been very
That's one of the
supportive.
homes.
We've never met in person. That's so interesting about this age and time that we're in. Like even you and I, right? Like we had a great conversation, like our pre sort of interview. We've never met.
Yeah.
I've never met Akil. I've never met G4 Jag. And like, you know,
Crazy.
this era now, like I have people that I would like to consider friends that I've never met yet, and especially because of COVID, right? But yeah, Derek, Norman Voorhees, you know, he's been very supportive kind of since the start, and we've never met, and it's kind of cool that, you know, sometimes like my brother's supportive, but there's some people like family and there's some friends that don't necessarily support in the way that we hope they might, or they, you know, think that they should. But it's always interesting.
Well, you know, that's a whole interview for like literally a whole 2-3 hours, like, you know. So
Yeah.
I mean, I used to kind of get concerned, you know, but like you said, when you're seeing these people, I have a friend, another friend I again met on the East Coast, met on here, who always says, and I can say his name, E Rain, Future of New York. He always says, like, your vibration, your team will find you. You know what I'm saying? They will find you. You don't have to go looking. They will find you. And yes, we would hope that our bloodline and our past friends, high school, college, but sometimes you outgrow people, you know, and especially a person like yourself with your talent, you are definitely at a whole nother level. And I think I told you that you are setting the bar high. All of your whole collective of team that I'm seeing are very high bar setters. So you can't expect, they probably don't even know what to say to you at this point, people who you knew, you know?
Yeah, no, and I think it's because like they know a certain version of you. Like, you know, I think everyone holds a different version of you.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're growing, they don't like, and they don't get it. And I don't think we have to hold those people to a standard of support either. Like not everyone's gonna, you know. Because I have a personal Instagram and I have my music Instagram, and I kind of said, like, look, if you want to follow Nate Butcher, follow Nate Butcher. That's my personal, and like, but I don't. Yeah. But if you want to follow my music and support, then follow this too.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, this is your profession. I mean, you are a professional. You know, and you know, similar to some of the influences. So talk about some of those influences, those people who you've looked up to. I know we talked about Jay Dilla. Kanye West.
Yeah, Kanye is a big one. I kind of showed you a quick little view of my studio, but Kanye has definitely been a huge influence. Everyone kind of knows, like, every Kanye meme that ever comes out, like I have like 10 people sending me Kanye memes all the time. Ski Beats is another one. So Dilla, Ski Beats, Kanye, Jake One from Seattle. Big L was like some like where I was like, I think it was the first hip hop album that really just gave me that stank face.
Yeah.
Like that, just like, oh, okay.
But well, let's talk. Go back to that first album. I want you to go all the way back to 2010, because you know I'm in your discography like crazy since, of course, you know, meeting you. So I want to talk about that first project release with Jay West.
Okay. When Jay West and I first linked up, it was through Twitter. And Twitter's not as big in Canada as it is in the States, but it's through Twitter. And he wasn't even hitting me. We hadn't met. We didn't know each other. He messaged me off of, he saw that I did some video work for some artists. So kind of similar to Stars. Stars has that same kind of, like, because he does the video work and he raps really well too. So people like hit him up for video, and then they hear him rap and they're like, oh. So yeah,
insane.
So I actually just got, sorry, you're going off track here, but I just got an email with a fresh Stars verse over one of my beats, and it sounds really good.
Oh, I am such a big fan of Stars right now. You know, he did my visuals, right? So that's me. He did all my visuals. Like, literally, I'm just, again, the angel I kill, Ali sent him. But yes, he is full of so much talent, and his music is insane.
Yeah.
Like, bars.
He's coming up huge. So,
big.
Oh, but yeah, so we got to the off track here. It's probably because I'm in the back of a car and I'm staring at all these trucks. But yeah, the first project that we put out together was called The Throwback and The Throwback 2. And it's just because we had acquired all these tracks and put together all these tracks. but he had something else that was sitting there. So we had like, it was kind of like a backlog of stuff. And then when he finally released that project, the songs we had were kind of old at that point. So we ended up just calling it the throwback. And a lot of those songs, you can hear my various influences from Kanye, Alchemist, even a little Mike Will Made It. 2010 was a great year for hip hop. The whole like Double XL Freshman was kind of big then. But yeah, 2010, that was a great era for music. And I have this one young homie, K-Sweet, who makes fun of me, who always says, like, you're still stuck in 2010.
But you know what? I think, you know, again, to kind of piggyback a little bit, but not really, because the fact that when you have timeless music, you know, I talk so much about it, like there is no era. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe in dates, in dating yourself, because so many artists have written music and sounds from 10 years ago, and it's hitting now, and it's all new to us.
You know? And that speaks volumes to me, because like the songs that I sent you, and that you said a lot. I know G4 hit me up about the Chains beat. We recorded, so it was the same artist on both those tracks, named Tobias, who's from Toronto, but we recorded those in 2015, 2016, and then we had a bit of a creative difference, and we didn't do anything with them up until this year, and last year with Full Circle. And I kind of just was, look, we still have these songs. I think they're still good. Can we set aside and release these? And we were able to, so.
Well, I mean, just the discography alone, like I said, jumping backwards to 2010, I can go 2016, you know, when you did, of course, am I saying it right? J Doe or J Duh?
J Doe.
G-O-H-E. Yep. Am I saying his name right? Yep. And Neff?
Yep.
Can you hear me okay?
I can see that it's cutting out a little bit.
J Doe.
Probably we're driving through the boonies.
So Side Mirror.
Side Mirror, yeah. So,
I know, that's okay. I kind of felt, I was like, they're probably
gonna. Neff is Prevail's nephew, so that's where his name comes from. So I don't know if you're familiar with Swollen Members at all, Mad Child and Prevail, but Neff was Prevail's nephew. It's West Coast BC, like kind of Canadian legends, I guess.
Incredible. And then the 2 EPs and the 1 full-length album that you did, W, that was heavy.
Yep. I wish we were able to do a better mix and master on that. That was like in our early years, and I still listen to that, and I'm like, man, these songs are incredible. They just need that. They just need what I'm doing now, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about 2020, because 2020 has definitely been impactful for you. We could talk about definitely the first solo EP, Full Circle, you brought up earlier. What, of course, and congratulations on that, because that is also, again, massive. You had well over 80,000 streams. You're probably at over 100 at now, because that was back in March.
I think it just hit 85,000.
Let's just 100,000.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that like, I don't know, if you break that down to maybe like half of that listen to it twice, or like a third of that, you know, like it's crazy when you break down the numbers like that. It feels good.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful. I think it's incredible. It's impressive. You know, 80,000 streams, your first solo EP. I mean, you got to give yourself some credit. I mean, you're a genius, you know?
I mean, I thank you. People don't know how to take compliments enough.
Well, you know, I give them, you know.
I know you do, and that's why I'm like,
you came to the right show, because I like to interview dope people. So just to be here and for me to take my time, I think to have you again, it's humbling for me, but to know that, you know, this type of business that you're doing, and collective that you belong to, again, I'm grateful for the opportunity, for real. You also, of course,
I see someone in the comments here, and I think it might be one of your followers, Drea Music, asking how I did. Music? Yeah, so she was asking how I did that. So why don't I break it down quickly? So I'm a producer. So every song I put out essentially is a collaboration with other artists, And
Mm-hmm.
by dropping collaborations, you're tapping into other markets. So I would suggest, even for you, Monique, like, after we're done this interview, go to my post and follow everyone that liked my post, because they're going to go to your
Yeah.
page and they're going to see me, and they're like, oh, okay, we got to follow her. So
Yes.
the first single I released was with Mickey Fax and
Mm.
Junk, and both have big followings. So being my first EP and me having zero following, but them already having a following, I listed them as main artists on Spotify. And by
Mm-hmm.
releasing that song, it ended up hitting Spotify's algorithmic playlist. So it's good to know
Mm-hmm.
this. Like, I know this is the technical, boring stuff of the music
No, it's
industry,
absolutely not.
but by utilizing their fan bases that they've already established, it put me into Spotify's algorithms, and it boosted that song. That song has about 45,000 streams on its own. So that one song accounts for half of the streams of the entire EP.
Wait, how many streams? We lost you for a second. How many streams?
45,000 on the one song.
Whew.
So
Jesus.
it accounts for half of the streams of the entire EP.
Wow. Wow. Well, Drea, the one that asked you that question, she is half of Front Runners. Her and her husband are a collaborative, also an amazing collective.
It's a clothing company, is it
Songwriters.
not? I've seen it. I know it.
Yeah, the Front Runners. They're producers,
Okay.
composers.
Okay, no, I
Yeah.
recognize it, so that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely that one to follow, what we're talking about. And speaking of that, because she just said Imperative has come so far in 2020 as far as the music and connections he's made. So I want to piggyback off that, because that was one of the things I wanted to mention. Your networking game is very impressive. So now you're sharing with us. You just gave us a big gem just now, what you told me to do.
I don't know. I feel like there's enough information. I don't know. There's enough for all of us to eat. Like, some people want to hold on to these things and like just take it all for themselves. And I'd rather, if I have some piece of information I can share, I'd rather give that to someone that they can utilize themselves.
Yes.
But networking
Yes.
has definitely been huge in my career, and Instagram, and that goes hand in hand with Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for Instagram. So I pray that like Instagram doesn't just like disappear. It's one day. But with Instagram, it was really when I've kind of found, I want to say when I found myself, my own sound, and I decided the niche that I really wanted to market myself in and push. I kind of like, just because Instagram, you can see who follows who. And so
Yeah.
I could pinpoint, starting at some of my favorites, which is Griselda, so Westside Gun, Benny the Butcher,
Mm-hmm.
and Conway, starting from them at the top. And I was able to go down the tree, the followers, and find kind of like where I needed to be. And then it starts by like just following them, liking, showing genuine support. Like, there's a few artists, like, before being a producer, I'm a fan of this music. Because like, there's people, like, I own vinyls, like some artists I wanted to work with, and I'd buy their vinyl, and then they're appreciative of that. And then it's not even like, hey, you want to work? It's this building this relationship and this trust. And then they end up coming over to my Instagram and see that I can make good music and produce good beats and tracks. And then all of a sudden it becomes more organic that way. But that's kind of my method is you really don't ask for anything, because too many people will, like, they might follow you right away after this and be like, hey, Monique, can I get an interview? And like, that sort of can set people off. People want to have a chance to discover things on their own rather than being force-fed.
Yeah. And well, you already know, because I don't really, as far as clout is concerned, I do know a lot of people who are signed, and large, artists, producers, musicians who have been very humble. But they know as well, I will still do a preliminary interview with you. Like that whole vibe for me is so important. It's not just about jumping on and giving an interview, or me even getting the interview. I know that you're comfortable and I'm comfortable with you, so.
And that's very smart, because there's a lot of people that, once you get me talking, I'll just talk all night.
Of course.
But some people you just might not have that connection, and if there's dead air, it's not going to make for a good interview. And like, I when you asked me to do a preliminary interview, like even myself, like I was impressed. I was like, okay, let's do
Oh.
that.
Yes. Well, like I said, I was very impressed, you know, because when I start seeing everything and what you've done, I was just like, okay, you know, discovering again another amazing, amazing talent, amazing artist. So talk about the skill set, because there are, of course, a generation that's coming behind you. What is the skill set that a producer truly needs outside of the whole education and engineering and audio? What natural skill set do you need to possess?
It's really comes down to motivation and focus and drive. For myself, like again, I would attribute that to skateboarding, because skateboarding is this thing. Like when I was skateboarding, I would go out front of the house and it's like I want to learn how to kickflip, and I would spend hours
Yeah.
trying to learn how to kickflip. I'd fall, scrape my knee, be bleeding, and be like, no, I'm still gonna do. So now, like it's with music, it's I want to make a beat, or I want to make it sound a certain way, and it's just like beating at it
Yeah.
and beating at it and
Yeah.
beating at it until it works. So if you don't have like, because I have a lot of friends that are hobbyist producers, where they like to say that they would like to be
Mm.
like a producer at a certain level, but if you're not going out there and getting it, like a lot of the like I have a certain level of success. I still have so much more that I would like to achieve. Like I'm nowhere near what I personally want, but from what other people, they're like, oh, you have, like, you're doing
Wow.
really well. But I went out and got everything I have right now, if I have anything. But so you can't just like sit back and make dope beats. There's probably 100 producers out there that are way better than me. It's just I will go out
Mm.
and search the opportunities. So if you're not willing to put everything on the line for this, then and it's cool then to make beats and have fun doing it. But you
Yeah.
gotta go all out to if you really want this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, we all know, of course, what you were doing before. You shared a little bit of it with us, but how would you say being an athlete, because you're a professional snowboarder, a professional snowboarder. So how has just having that mindset of an athlete, you know, the motivation is there, yes, but what other skill sets have you transferred into what you're doing with your drive for music and producing?
So it's kind of a confused. I don't want to, because I don't want other people to see this and think I wasn't like a professional. It's just like the easiest way of explaining it. I did do a lot of
Yeah.
competitive stuff. I had some photos in magazines and did some videos and
Hmm.
stuff like that. But like with snowboarding, you got to go out. Like I didn't have to pay for it. Like
Wow.
so I would get free passes to go to Whistler. I would get free jackets and pants and the boards, which is, it's an expensive sport. Like it's not like a cheap everyday sport, but like now that I don't get that stuff for free, I haven't done it in 2 years because it's that expensive. But
Yeah.
in order to get those opportunities, you have to be able to market yourself. Because you could be a great
Mm.
snowboarder, but if you're not marketing yourself, then no one knows. It's like if a tree falls in the middle of a forest and no one's there to hear it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was able to. I found out and realized how to market myself um, early, and I was able to get those
Mm.
sponsorships. I was able to get those opportunities to get the free snowboards and jackets and things like that. And again, I went out and got those opportunities. I didn't sit back and wait. I was emailing reps for these companies. I was, and like Akil mentioned about his football, like he had sponsorships as well.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
so,
Yeah.
and even in football, he had to market himself as a player.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So that,
carrying that over to, of course, the industry, of course, and you have your own merch. We can see
yep.
Imperative. So share with everybody the alter ego and the meaning of imperative, please.
So imperative came. So we kind of talked about this before, but sometimes I feel like these ideas come to us and at a certain time, and it might not be the right time, but their true meaning will come to us down the road. So
Hmm.
imperative, I think. So the straight up how it came about was I wanted to know the definition of the word imperative. I was just like, what's the
Yeah.
definition of imperative? And I Google searched it, and I came across a dictionary website, and then underneath the proper spelling was how you pronounce it. And
Mm.
it looked like, and there was actually a square bracket and then
Yeah.
another square bracket. So IM apostrophe PERETIV. So it's how it's
Hmm.
pronounced. And I was like, that it wasn't even like how it sounded. It was, that looks like a cool logo. So even before I knew what it was or what it was going to be, I was like, that looks like and I held on. That was probably like 2007, and I
Yes.
probably didn't end up utilizing it until about 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And so that one word, that like the power of having this one word I discovered in 2007 stayed with me all the way till 2012. And I started making beats. I was like, well, I guess I need to have a name and brand myself. Now, my real name is Nate Butcher, and a lot of people think I should have just gone by Nate Butcher or Nate the Butcher.
Yeah.
But I think if I did that, there's obviously Benny the Butcher, there's Beat Butcher, there's a lot of people
Yeah.
out there that have done that. And what I have found very interesting about using the word imperative is it's unique and it's spelled different. But I get back a lot of these songs from artists, and they've decided to put it into the song because it's a unique word in the vocabulary. And they're like, oh, I have never used the word imperative in a song. So then they try and work it in. And so I've actually made a few like audio collages of all the artists that have like sort of said it over the years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's interesting because I shared with you, as you know, earlier, I'm definitely into wordplay, and I like, honestly, it's crazy. I think I get it from my dad with dictionary reading. I like to literally read the dictionary. So I'm like,
not enough rappers do that, and artists, like, you should. Like, I have one on my shelf. I just don't read it as often as I should.
Old school, right? Like the dictionary, the thesaurus, you know, all those things, like it's crucial, right? So speaking of wordplay, I'm going to mention some words to you since, of course, we love imperative. And I basically might mention a word or a term to you. And I want to know what your first thought is. There's no wrong or right answer. Just give me the first thought that comes to mind.
Okay.
Okay.
I told you I was dreading these ones.
I know. The first one is common denominator.
Shared interest.
I like that. Oof. I like that. Okay.
Am I able to do more than one word like that? Is that okay?
Of course. I'm going to give y'all. Hold on now. I'm going to give them to, keep in mind the words I pick for each artist are literally what I feel about you.
Okay.
So I just want to know your feedback. But these are words I picked for you specifically. Imperative. The next word is tenacious.
Tenacious D. Sorry, it's like not even. I'm not even adding much there. It's like, have you seen the comedy Tenacious D? It's like Jack Black, and that's the only thing I can think of right now is Tenacious D.
But that's the first thing you thought of. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
And a Tenacious D song is the only song I do in karaoke. It's the only song I do in karaoke.
Really?
Yeah, it's Tenacious D.
I'm writing it down.
Fuck her gently.
So I could look. Wait a minute. I'm writing it down. Wait a minute.
That's the song.
You see, I stopped writing. I'm like, Okay. The next word is character.
Personality.
Absolutely. Melodic.
Feeling.
Yes. I think of chains. Pray for them with melodic.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. Wisdom.
Time.
Oof. And the last one is humility.
Self-awareness.
Yeah. Wonderful. I like that. So what does Imperative like to do outside of music?
That's a good question these days. I mean, I would love to go
snowboard,
snowboarding. I love art. Right now because of COVID, so we're still under lockdown. So I've been going for walks every morning, and that's about the excitement as I get right now. But I like going exploring. Yeah, it's just tough time right now to really say much. Like really, I've just my I wake up and I live and breathe music right now.
Yeah, yeah. What's going on? Clizzy Houston's in the building. That's another producer artist from Atlanta.
Okay.
I know what I'm going to ask you because, of course, this is, of course, your first ride. We can share with everyone. This is your first travel trip out.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I know the answer, but I want to hear it in your own words. What word best describes the way you've spent the last 30 days of your life?
Repetitive.
Woo!
Repetition. And I just want to shout out Fred the Godson Foundation. Fred the Godson is an amazing rapper who passed away by COVID, unfortunately. It's his brother who's taking care of the foundation, but he's taking care of Fred the Godson's legacy. I was I don't know if he's still in here watching, but I was getting ready to. There was an announcement that he was going to be performing in Toronto, and I was like, "Yo, let's go!" Like I hit up some friends, and then sadly the show just disappeared, and it's up for obvious reasons now.
Yeah.
But he's one artist I would have loved to have worked with, and he worked with the Heat Makers, and who my sound has been compared to a lot. So it's cool that he jumped in here, and so I just want to let him know I appreciate what he's doing for his brother's legacy, and it's kind of cool that he jumped in there to say what up. Because I sent him, he sent me an email just saying that there was a new track out, and I just said, "Yo, man, I just want to say you're doing a great job," and he hit me back. So it's cool that he's in here. But shout out to him, and shout out to, and much love. Rest in peace to Fred the Godson.
Absolutely. Rest in peace to Fred the Godson. And yes, we appreciate you, King, for coming in. I believe he just joined. So yes, he's definitely watching and he's still here. So we appreciate you. We appreciate your family, your legacy, and everything that Godson has done for the culture, and what you are continuing to bring forth.
And
So
we were talking about the 2010 era, and he was a big part of that. He was XXL freshman, and he was part of that sort of 2010 sort of era as well. So
wow, absolutely amazing. Amazing. So humbling. Whew. Yeah. So talk to me more about 2019 and 2020. I would say 2019, 2018, pre-COVID. If you were to go and see an artist like Fred the Godson, any other artist, when you're sitting there in the audience or backstage even, because you've been an artist manager, you've been a DJ a touring DJ, what is it that you're listening for and watching when that artist is performing?
It's their stage presence, how they interact, make sure they're not lip syncing over their own track. I don't even listen to a lot of their music, but one of the shows that I was really taken aback by was Yellow Wolf. I went to a Yellow Wolf show, and the entire show, the way it was put together, there was like these sort of like Pink Floyd-esque, like psychedelic interludes that were just like in between like the songs, and then the DJ was doing, he had a guitarist that had a rack of like 6 different guitars, and the entire show start to finish was just put together so well. Jay West actually jumped in at kind of the right time, because that's who I started doing shows with, and I was his hype man. Yeah, I was his hype man, and I was his DJ, and after we started performing, I couldn't watch shows the same after actually performing. Like I used to be in the crowd in that, but after I started performing with Jay West, I have to sit back and I was just like analyzing it. Like, what are they doing? One of my favorite rappers who I was not impressed with their stage presence was Andre Nicotina, who's from the Bay Area.
Wait a minute now.
I love Andre Nicotina rapping and on track, but when I watched him live, it could have been at the end of the tour, so I don't want to hold him again. Like, things happen. It could have been an off night, but he just he stood there and rapped, and like that was it. But I think if you're gonna do a live show, music is a creative art, and a lot of times, I think musicians aren't just strictly musicians. Like, I mean, some are, but I think there's other elements there. But like, I don't know, incorporate some light shows, you know what I mean? Like, it's easy to get a set of like cool LEDs these days, that are in the shape of whatever, and you can have it like sync it up to your beat, like so it's like flashing with it. the very first show Jay West and I did, we had this one song. He's like, I want $1 million right now. And so I was like, now this is kind of some corny white shit, but I was like, there's the Bare Naked Ladies song, If I Had $1 Million. So I was like, let's start the song, get it hyped to the first hook, and then we'll cut it, and then we'll put on Bare Naked Ladies, If I Had $1 Million. So we did that, and the whole crowd's like, yo, what? Like, what's going on? And then we're like, man, fuck that shit. Put on the track, and it was just something small that it engaged the crowd, right? Because like it's something they're not expecting, and then yeah, I think just add a little bit more a little bit more sauce in the shows.
Yeah, I love that. So it's not just about, because I think so many people, especially now after what's been going on, because the stages are opening up now. So I think so many artists then and now are so happy to get a gig. You know what I'm saying? So they just think, yeah, it's just about just getting up there and just performing. When no, it is an entire experience. You're providing an experience, the ultimate experience, even. I mean, I know everybody can't be Beyonce or Michael Jackson, but we can follow and study the idea. So even if you can't dance, have, like you're saying, have dancers, or if you can't dance, have lights, flashing. Yeah. I think it comes from not just your artistry, but your motion graphics that you enjoy doing with the.
I mean, I definitely, when I talk about it, and like, I mean, not everyone has the background I do, so I do understand that. I'm coming from a place, like I have a diploma in multimedia design, so I went to school and studied media design. The only thing I didn't actually do an education in was music production.
Oof.
I picked that up on my own. That was the full circle, but I feel like where we are in our lives right now is an amalgamation of everything we've ever done.
Yeah.
And so whatever skills you picked up along the way, like it might not, I don't know if you're going to bring it up later, but the G4 line that you really liked from the song.
Yes.
So everything that we learn is a lesson, and no matter what it is, it will come into play at some point, and you just have to learn. You have to figure out how to tap into that. So when I was, like I said, skateboarding and snowboarding, that got me wanting to do graphic design. So that was even before I went to school. I just taught myself. And then through like that, I wanted to do graphics. I started my own clothing company in high school called Frost. And so now when I'm doing merch, like I have, like, I did clothing back in high school, which was a long time ago now. I've been doing graphic design. I did video editing. So like now, like with this music, it's more than music.
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of everything.
Yeah. Well, how do you, I mean, I, of course, being artist to artist, I do definitely understand with the protection of my lyrics and my sounds. But again, to a producer that's coming behind you, next generation, describe the understanding of putting out an instrumental EP. How do you protect your baby? How do you monetize your baby?
It's a little bit different because I'm speaking from Canada. So there'll be some of the information will be sort of similar. So once you put out, I mean, when you put out the instrumentals, you can register it in Canada. We have what's called SOCAN. SOCAN automatically registers the song under BMI or ASCAP, which is what you guys down in the States use. I've heard things of like you can put it on a USB stick or burn it to a CD and mail it to yourself. And I've never did anything that far. I registered on SOCAN, and that's really the biggest thing. And once it's uploaded onto, let's say, your distribution, DistroKid, TuneCore, whatever, you get an ISRC code, or ISRC or IR. One of the you get a code, and so that's kind of your protection as well. So like DistroKid and that, they have some algorithms that will check to see if anyone's doing it. The big issue for, say, producers is YouTube. Because by posting it up on YouTube, someone can just rip it. And let's say let's say I put the beat onto YouTube, but I hadn't uploaded it to Spotify. Let's say an artist stole it and put it up there. that I haven't had to deal with that yet, and
Yeah.
you know, I hope I don't have to, but you know, that might come into a situation where you might need an entertainment lawyer, which I do have one available. I'm not paying him on retainer or anything, but I do have his information. He's there if I need, and that. But really, the biggest thing is just registering with your performing royalty
Yes.
organization, performing rights
Perform.
organization. There we go.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Exactly. So, so that's what. Yeah. In Canada, it's SOCAN.
Okay. Okay. That's important. I mean, you know, because again, I come across again so many different artists, and people are now it's crazy because they're starting to, you know, DM me. Well, I'm not even searching sometimes anymore just to look for talent. It's like, I think it's a beautiful thing, but at the same time, I always, you know, want to make sure I look for their music. I look to see where it's, you know, what platform it's on, just different things, because I have to protect
Definitely.
myself as well, you know, to
Definitely.
just be just playing somebody's music and all of a sudden something pops up and it's like, do you own the rights? You know?
Yeah, I get that when I'm playing my own music on IG Live. Like I was playing Full Circle one night or like something, and it's like I owned it, and Instagram was like, we're gonna shut down your Instagram Live, and I'm like you can't even fight that, which is it's kind of crazy. Like I don't know if there's any way around that yet. Anyways, like you should be able to say, like I don't know.
Well,
The
to be
one
able
thing
to
I got, yeah, like
email, it's so hard to get in touch with somebody. Luckily, I think now what they do is send something back and says to press the button, are you appealing that you have the rights? And if you say yes, and then they say, okay, now we're putting it back up. But yeah, I
yeah,
think
but if you're
sometimes,
doing a live and they shut it off while you're doing mid live, like I
oh,
mean
yeah,
they just screwed your whole thing. An
yeah.
interesting thing for me that like just this conversation has brought up in my mind just goes like this is recently I had someone, and it's not the first time either, is someone emailed me and said, hey, we found this YouTube beat and like
Mm,
we would like to buy it from you. And so I'm like,
mm-hmm.
okay, cool, interesting. But then I do my research on the artist they're submitting that on behalf of. And so the one recently I looked up their Instagram and there was 2 posts, which is like for me these days, like if you only have 2 posts, you have like 200 followers, it's not really like striking my interest unless you're going to pay a lot of
Yeah,
money. But
yeah,
even then, I'm more about making good music than I am about money.
yeah.
But so when I go to their Instagram, so out of the 2 posts they had, one was this kid in the studio rapping over my beat. So
Uh-oh.
I haven't been paid for this yet. I mean, I'm not like upset, but it just poses an interesting question is like, they're getting exposure of somewhat by using my beat and rapping over it in their social
Mm-hmm.
media. And that
Yeah.
is a reform market. And I haven't agreed to that.
No.
I'm not going to say anything. At the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. I'm just saying it poses an interesting
Well,
question.
just as TuneCore or any of the distribution, United Masters, any of them, if they were to notice that your song obviously has gone viral, we're talking 80,000 streams, 100,000 streams. Now that's
Yeah,
different because, of course, we know here on social media, if a sound plays on live or every time someone is clicking it, then you should be getting a part of that. You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
So,
Yeah. Not all of the platforms are up to date on that, but I mean this new era, like people are still finding, like when I'm doing contracts now, like like if I sell a beat, I had an artist that was like, can I buy a beat? I gave them my price. They're like, okay, and they're like, so you'll share it on your social media. And it like
mm-hmm.
my social media following, it's okay. It's not like I don't have like the 10K or anything yet, but it just posed an interesting like, am I gonna have to charge? Like, okay, you can buy the beat for $500, but if you'd like me to share it on my social media, well, that's an extra 200. If you want to shout out on my story, that's not, it's we're in an interesting era now, and there are opportunities like that, but it just it gets kind of messy.
Yeah. Talk about licensing and or exclusivity, because I am the type of artist that likes to exclusive my beats from the
Yeah.
producer. I don't want
Um,
to ever anybody else singing on the same beat.
I
So
kind of go the same way because I'm like I said, I'm more about making good music than I am about making money, and I'm the same way. I want to make one good song. Like if I'm gonna use
yeah.
that beat, I want it to be the song, right? Though
Mhm.
I used to be against beat leasing, but in these days, I haven't been able to due to time. But I've wanted to make beats specifically for leasing. A lot of the beats I make are typically sampled. And when I use a sample, I'm probably only going to use that sample once. So I have an attachment to it. So I want to make sure
Mhm.
that goes to the right home. If I sell that, because I've sold beats and then I've heard what artists have done on them. And I'm just like,
Oh boy.
And it's kind of gone because I sold the exclusive rights, and you know that's
Mm,
theirs, and I'm just like shit, like, you know, my
yeah,
baby. So but I've been thinking is like making beats specifically for lease and putting it on BeatStars, and then I have no attachment to it. It's like I just made it strictly for the lease, and then because there's power in that too. Like if for a producer, is like I could make a beat today, load it on BeatStars, that could still potentially make me money 10 years from now, potentially.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. I was you. Are you on BeatStars? So you are.
I am, but I went full pro last year. Like that's their membership, which gives you all the features. Um, so everything is algorithms these days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like there's a rapper. His name's Chris Crack. He put out an album called "White People Love Algorithms,"
Mm.
and it's true. I find myself talking about algorithms far more than I want to. But
Wow.
BeatStars algorithm really promotes those who post a beat every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to base your business model as a producer around um, doing that, like making a beat, posting it to BeatStars, posting it to you, if that's your business plan and that's your time structure and your workflow, that will work. But for me, working with artists like Akil, I'm sending different beats to different people and trying to take it all back and try and do my own social media. I don't have time to do that beat
Yeah.
every day for BeatStars. These days, a lot of the beats I'm making, it's like I make it and it's gone. Like it's
It's
gone to
gone.
Jesus.
Absolutely.
So I just don't. The BeatStars thing. It's if that's the uh, business model you want to go after, I think it can be very successful for people and profitable. But you have to decide
Mm-hmm.
that that's the route you want to go.
Absolutely. I see you, Finesse. I see you, Finesse. Thank you so much for your support. So let me ask you this. You know, being a professional and being so good at what you do, great even. When is it time to kind of notice like when to calculate and not worry about doing things right or doing things wrong? I mean, are you the type of person that's worried about doing things right, or are you worried
Um,
about doing
I mean, I'm a Libra, so I think too much as is. I actually have a great video clip. I don't know why I just started screen recording, but it was G4 Jag talking with Brad Piff, and Brad Piff I joined in. I was like, "Yo, what's up,
Mm,
homies?" And like, he's like, "Yo, Imperative, he's one of the nicest producers." And G4's like, "Yeah, Imperative's a really nice guy, but he thinks too much." And like,
mm.
and I mean, it's true. That's just me. I do think too much, but these days, a lot of times I try and make my beats, and I get it to a point, and then send it off, and that's it. There is a very fine line because I have a lot of friends that they'll sit there on beats for weeks and months, but then they haven't done anything with it.
Yeah.
And at some point, there's like this quantity and quality sort of balance scale that you gotta weigh out.
Just saving it, just waiting for the right person or the right whatever.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes maybe you have this amazing beat that you're holding on to, but maybe you'll never get that right artist. There is no right. It's like finding the love of your life and wanting to ask her out on a date. There's no right time. Like you have to make your time and you have to make your opportunities.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of thinking about things so much, don't tell me how old you are, but I do want to ask you this.
Okay.
How old would you be if you didn't know how old you were?
I I feel like we're getting into some existential. Like I want to say like I wouldn't have an age. Like I don't. I try
You,
not to think
some
of.
people, let me tell you, some people come across, and I've met some people in my last job, they didn't even know when they were born. They didn't know their birth dates.
Wow, I know when I was born for sure, but if I didn't
Yeah.
know, I wouldn't even think about things in terms of age,
Yeah.
or that because I might be shaking. We're kind of bumpy here, but I don't know. I have friends that are older. I have friends that are younger, and I try not to think about things in those terms. I
Yeah.
do wish I was born in the '70s though.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Not born in the '70s, but kind of be like the age I am now or younger, like in my prime or whatever during the '70s.
Because of the 70s music?
The '70s,
Disco?
yeah, just something about that whole era, just like it draws me in.
Okay. Okay. Well, then I'll say this then. I'll say if you were 40,
Okay.
if the listen, if the average lifespan was 40.
Okay.
How would you live your life differently?
I wouldn't. To be honest, like I've told my family, I mean, there's obviously a lot of things I still want to achieve in this life, but everything I may not have, like, say, the success or like the legacy that I may want, but I've lived such an amazing life already. Like I wouldn't do anything different. I'd still do the snowboarding stuff and I'd still do the music I am 35. So if in 5 years, if I pass away,
wow.
I've done what I feel like I'm content with. Like, there's obviously more I would like to achieve, but if I happen to pass, then that's what it is, and I have no regrets.
I love that. I love that. Well, you look literally under 30. Okay,
Yeah,
so
people think I'm like 25 to 30.
like literally, I would have never even guessed that. I asked everyone this question. I think I asked you this in your preliminary, and I'm not going to hold you too much longer. But if you could change one thing about the industry the way it is today, what would that be?
See, I don't know, because like everything I'm doing right now is based on the industry that it is, and like I think some of the cutthroat aspects are good, because like like we're talking about Akil and I coming from professional sports and stuff like that. Like I do have a competitive drive.
Yes.
I think the labels, the time I'm kind of coming in now with what I'm doing, I think the labels went and fucked shit up before, and now we're coming into this land of opportunity of independent artists. So to be honest, like it comes down kind of the last question is like everything happens for a reason, and we're here. So I mean, if things were different, maybe I wouldn't have the same opportunities I have now.
Ooh, I like that answer. Wow. Absolutely. I think time is of essence. Definitely time is of essence. So take us out and tell us where to find Imperative merch and all the platforms to find you.
So everything social media is Imperative. So it's IMPERETIV. No apostrophe in any of the social media, just because I can't have it. Any of the merch you can get off imperative.shop. But the big one is Instagram. I use Instagram as my hub. So if you find me here on Instagram, follow me. I have links in my description and everything.
Well, everything is definitely amazing. I am again so grateful and thankful. I'm so happy we were able to do this in the middle of your travel. Again, shout out to your brother who's traveling. Yep. I noticed the cars start moving again.
he's so up in the front, but he's like I said, he's very supportive. So after this, I'm not sure how long we have, but we'll put on some loud music and just drive.
Well, please just be safe. And I just want to say again, mad love. Okay.
Hey, mad love
you are definitely.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you. And
I appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep being great. And please have safe travel.
All right. Much love.
I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you to everyone that tuned in.